Takuto, a terminally ill dude with all the charisma of a library fine, dies and wakes up in an isekai. But not just any isekai, he gets dropped into a dark fantasy world as the supreme overlord of a civilization literally named Minogra. And yes, that sounds like a metal band that sells cursed merch. He's not alone, though. His second in command is named Ato, a half-war goddess, half-waifu, full-time fan service machine who can kill you and look hot doing it. Together, they're building their empire the only way anime knows how, through farming, making sad people cry, and committing vague atrocities off-screen. Our story opens with Takuto. Yes, that's his name. Try to remember it, but no promises. He's your usual terminally ill but spiritually overpowered dude who looks like the human version of a white wall. He's lying in a hospital bed, fading away, dramatically while playing his favorite strategy game, Eternal Ruins. Because obviously, if you're gonna die, why not go out mid-boss fight? Cut to the part where he croaks because, you guessed it, he's sick. And boom! Plot convenience happens. Instead of rotting 6 feet under, our bland little vegetable wakes up on a frickin' throne in the middle of a fantasy forest. You'd think the first thing he'd say is, "Where the hell am I?" Or, "Am I dead?" Nope, not our guy. He just casually blinks at his surroundings like he's waiting for the nurse to bring his meds. Enter Ato. Oh boy, here comes the fan service tornado. She's got horns, glowing eyes, and the body proportions of someone genetically engineered by a bunch of lonely game devs. Ato is Takuto's favorite character from Eternal Ruins. And what do you know? She just magically popped into this world with him. Totally normal. Happens to the best of us. Apparently, this universe was taking interns and decided to hire Takuto as a god-tier ruler just because he played the game obsessively. Great. So I guess grinding on a strategy sim can actually get you somewhere in life. Atu immediately kneels, pledging loyalty to her new king like a loyal golden retriever with demon features. She's weirdly affectionate and extremely enthusiastic about world domination. Girls got issues, but who doesn't in an isekai? Then the lore bomb drops. Takuto is now in charge of the civilization of Ruin, which sounds like a metal band, but is actually just a glorified wasteland with potential. So what does he name this majestic empire? Mynoghra. Try saying that 3 times without summoning a demon. How original. Now, Takuto has no physical strength, no idea where he is, and his social skills are on par with a damp towel. But wait, plot armor. He's still the highest ranked player in this universe and apparently has access to all the high-tier godly powers from Eternal Ruins. Yes, it's another classic case of, I suck in real life, but I'm cracked in-game. Never seen that before. Cue applause. With Ato practically foaming at the mouth to begin conquering stuff, Takuto decides to start by summoning some minions. And what's his first masterpiece? A homunculus! This thing looks like it crawled straight out of Silent Hill. Deformed, grotesque, and very much on brand for something called the Civilization of Ruin. Ato's delighted, obviously. Girls got taste. But instead of going full Doomsday Overlord right away, our guy plays it smart. Shocker. He tells his creepy new minion to scout the surrounding forest and gather intel. Because even in a new world, the send the disposable NPC strategy still works. Now let's switch camera angles to the sob story side of the forest where we find a ragtag group of dark elves led by a warrior named Gia. These guys look like they haven't eaten in weeks and probably smell worse than a gym sock left in the sun. Gia and his starving squad stumble through the woods, probably looking for berries or death, whichever comes first, and they stumble upon the throne of the King of Ruin. No guards, no alarms, just this pale dude chilling in the open like a fantasy version of Jeff Bezos on break. Gia instantly senses Takuto's divine aura, because of course he does. The elves start trembling, unsure if they're about to be blessed or barbecued. But our moist tofu of a protagonist does something completely unexpected. He helps them, like, genuinely. Takuto produced some magical food from a magical portal, literal fruits of the game engine, and feeds the poor elves pears, apples, things these elves have never seen in their entire tree-hugging life. Ato, meanwhile, is not vibing. She's worried about the optics of giving out charity as a supposed Dark Lord. You can almost hear her thoughts. This is not how we build fear. We don't feed the peasants. We scorch them. But Takuto doesn't care. He's too busy unlocking that good karma badge and making elf friends. Gia, who just got his first bite of sugar in months, drops to his knees and pledges loyalty. One meal and the guy's ready to dedicate his soul. That's what I call cost-effective recruitment. Everything's looking hunky-dory until, surprise, surprise, the fun police arrive in the form of Moltar, the elder dark elf with the personality of a cactus and the trust issues of someone who's been ghosted too many times. He grills Gia about the source of the mysterious food and naturally assumes there's a catch, which, let's be real, it's fair. If a literal evil king hands you a fruit basket, you better check for poison. Moltar's not wrong. Takuto is the king of ruin. His empire literally has destruction in the brand name. So the elf elder starts connecting dots like an over-caffeinated conspiracy theorist. Free food? Strange human? Glowing demon waifu? Yep, definitely a trap. And to be fair, if someone offered me a banana with a side of unlimited power, I'd ask a few questions too. Next thing you know, Moltar decides to see the king for himself, dragging Gia along like he sets off to meet Takuto and confirm whether this mysterious fruit dealer is really Satan in disguise. And judging by Ato's permanent intimidating aura, he just might be. And that's where the episode ends, on a cliffhanger that promises negotiations, skepticism, and maybe a good old-fashioned fireball to the face. Cue episode number 2, we're back in the Dark Continent. Not a goth convention, just a poorly named fantasy setting. Episode 2 picks up right where we left off, with Moltar, the resident party pooper of the elf squad, curious to know what exactly the catch is. Because who gives away magical fruits and healthcare for free? Not even fantasy insurance companies do that. Takuto, meanwhile, is faced with a classic villain dilemma. The guy's still new to this evil king gig and can't quite figure out if he wants to be Satan or a sympathetic guidance counselor. His master plan? Give the elves a choice. Either join the civilization of ruin and become part of his misunderstood dark utopia, or kindly GTFO and survive on tree bark somewhere else. The problem? Takuto can't speak to elves properly, so Atu, who deserves a pay raise for putting up with his nonsense, becomes the translator, and she is not happy about it. You can tell by the way her horns twitch every time Takuto says something painfully kind-hearted. Through this game of magical telephone, the message gets across barely. The Dark Elves can either become citizens of Team Doom Castle or wander into the wild and get eaten by whatever anime beast lives in the woods this week. Naturally, they pick the option that doesn't involve starving to death. Big surprise. But then cut to what I can only describe as a cosplay of a dictator's first day on the job. The elves build Takuto another throne because one is never enough, and bow like they're auditioning for a Worship the Demon King musical. Takuto just awkwardly plops himself on his new dark IKEA chair while trying not to blush from all the attention. Big evil energy, am I right? But no dark regime is complete without a dash of emotional trauma. So what does our evil king do? He tells the elves to dig deep into their inner despair. Really tap into that juicy hatred they've been bottling up like repressed teenage emotions. And just like that, boom! Spiritual catharsis. Apparently, when you let go of your pain in front of the King of Ruins, it feels like a therapy session mixed with a possession ritual. The elves now officially call Mynoghra home. Group hug, but with more existential dread. Fast forward a few days, and Takuto and Ato are hunched over a map of the Dark Continent like two exhausted D&D nerds trying to figure out how to survive a campaign with one health potion and no allies. The map, generously provided by Grandpa Skeptic Moltar, reveals two major threats nearby. The Holy Kingdom of Qualia, because every isekai needs a self-righteous theocracy, and the El Na Alliance of Elementals, a group of elves who worship trees harder than your vegan cousin on Earth Day. Our dynamic duo realizes they're sandwiched between religious zealots and eco-terrorists. Classic underdog starter pack. Takuto throws a mini tantrum like the overachiever who didn't spawn near the diamond mine in Civilization 6. He's the king of ruin, damn it, not the king of stuck between two annoying neighbors. But does he make war plans? Build a nuke? Nah. He decides they need to start farming. Like real evil overlord behavior here, tending to crops and managing natural resources. The plan? Use the Dark Elves for harvesting. Why? Because the homunculi are basically living potatoes. They grunt, drool, and occasionally smash things. Strategic resource management is definitely not in their job description. Then comes a royal update briefing, because evil kings need reports too. Kia and Moltar return with a new character, Elmi. She was shown before, but wasn't too relevant. She's a female dark elf. the intellectual type. Glasses are included. She's introduced as someone who knows stuff, which in this anime is as rare as a functioning brain cell. Finally, someone who might know what the hell is going on outside their miserable little forest. Takuto, being the HR manager he never trained for, hands out job roles like candy at Halloween. Moltar is made the state affairs guy because he's old and cranky, so he must be wise, right? Gia gets promoted to head warrior, which is just the same as starving elf number 1, but now with a shiny title. And then, oh the horror, we get an anime trope so tired it needs a nap. The rivalry for the king's attention. Yep. Gia and Moltar start competing to see who can please the King of Ruins more. You'd think they're trying to win a rose on The Bachelor, Dark Continent Edition. They argue, posture, and try to outdo each other in showing loyalty. It's painfully predictable and honestly more embarrassing than the homunculi drooling earlier. In the next scene, Takuto talks forestry, and no, I'm not kidding. The big evil plan now is reforestation, because nothing screams villain like responsible environmental policies. The elves don't understand the concept, obviously, so we get a crash course in seed planting. And shockingly, when Elmi plants a seed, wait for it, it grows into fruit. Groundbreaking stuff. Takuto, he has a light bulb moment. If he can summon fruit, what's stopping him from pulling guns and oil from the portal too? Now that's more like it. Finally, something that says, I rule the civilization of ruin, and not, welcome to fantasy Farmwell. Meanwhile, we learn the elves are not only starving and clueless about agriculture, but also behind on their magical education. Turns out they know nothing about the 6 major elements or military magic. It's a miracle they survived this long and didn't get wiped out by a rampaging squirrel or something. With all that said and done, episode 2 wraps up with one key takeaway. Takuto might just become the evil king he's pretending to be if he can stop being so damn nice about it. Ato is still trying to steer him into actual villainy, but Takuto's too busy planting metaphorical seeds of hope and literal trees. Any final thoughts? Well, we've got a king who can summon fruit baskets but wants to import firearms, an army of magical peasants with no idea what basic magic is, and a fan service demon who really just wants to commit war crimes in peace. Episode 2 is the awkward first team meeting of world domination. Nothing major explodes, nobody gets stabbed, and yet we are somehow setting up for bigger things. Hopefully. The elves are finally doing more than starving, and Takuto slowly realizing he might need to act like a villain if he wants to survive. So far, the show is giving strong overlord light vibes, with more miscommunication and less murder. Will Takuto stop being the Mr. Rogers of evil empires? Will Ato ever be allowed to actually do something villainous? And will the elves learn anything other than how to bow? Find out next week on Apocalypse Bringer Minogra, Gardening with the Dark Lord. We open on a fancy-looking cavern, clearly carrying someone important, and you can tell because the people in it are wearing hats dumb enough to qualify as fashion statements. Enter Soalina, a saint from the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, which is just the Vatican if the Pope could throw fireballs and cared about landscaping. Unfortunately, her quiet little trip is rudely interrupted by some goblins with a combined IQ of a sack of potatoes and the face to match. Of course, they think attacking a saint is a good idea because this is anime and dumb NPCs are part of the starter pack. One explosion and several flambéed goblins later, Soalina's basically turned the forest into a vegan barbecue. We also learn she has a bit of a gardening kink because she literally flowers the ashes after torching goblins like it's part of her post-battle skincare routine. Add that to her resume under spiritual arsonist with aesthetic goals. Anyway, Saint Soalina wants to send her paladins to investigate the Dark Continent, aka Takuto's new evil Disneyland. Naturally, the old men running the church are like, no thanks, girl boss, go back to being decorative. He even drops the classic line, you're not a young village girl anymore, which is just medieval code for, we don't trust women with swords and opinions. But Soalina's not here to listen to grandpas. She's packing up her sparkly armor and taking her holy squad into the cursed woods anyway. Because if the church won't do it, she'll handle it herself like the saintly anime waifu she is. Meanwhile, in the magical hellhole of Mynoghra, Takuto is out here living his best evil overlord life. And by that, I mean he's basically on a glorified field trip, checking in on elf laborers who are building infrastructure like they're on a DIY home makeover show. They even gave his throne a cushy upgrade. No more royal wedgies for our king. Atto, meanwhile, is handling the actual military planning like the competent queen she is. She's spearheading the summoning of a hero, which sounds wholesome until you realize it's for their evil army. Yep, in this world, even the term hero has been patched and repurposed like a broken item in an MMORPG. Oh, and in case you're wondering about logistics, the entire summoning ritual is based on a happiness meter and how much magical juice your kingdom's got stored up. It's basically the IRS but for mana. Back to Elf World, King Takuto introduces the elves to Agriculture 2.0, courtesy of the cursed tech tree. The MVP returns, flesh trees, and this time they're being cultivated with love and gardening tools that look like they were ripped straight out of a sci-fi gacha game. One tree literally thanks Emle, the nerdy elf, for taking care of it, which is adorable if you ignore the part where it's literally a meat-producing tree that probably screams when you harvest it. Between cursed water that buffs evil people and penalizes the pure of heart, and talking trees that double as butchers, it's hard to tell if this kingdom is advancing or just becoming increasingly nightmare-fueled. Either way, Takuto's all in, and honestly, same. But hey, no time for relaxation because news of Minogra is spreading fast, and not in a, hey, this place has great Yelp reviews kind of way. So Alina's paladins are officially en route to check out the rising evil empire, which is definitely not going to turn into a diplomatic tea party. On the other side, we finally meet Lonius, a smug elitist paladin who looks like he read every book on military strategy and is dying to tell someone about it. He's tagging along with Soalina's investigation force, mostly to flex and pretend he's not totally freaked out about the rumors surrounding Mynoghra. We also learn about their stakes. If you succeed, the Congress gives you a gold star. If you fail, you're now under Paladin, which sounds like a medieval way of saying demoted to intern. As this fancy expedition is gearing up, Takuto's little demon kingdom is going full Sim City. They've got food, water, a military that's just Atto soloing boss fights anymore. There are talks to even build a floating palace, because why not toss in a flex when your throne finally stops stabbing you in the ass? Now, about Atto's hero mode, yeah, it's busted. She gets stronger the longer she exists. That's not strategy, that's a cheat code. She's basically a walking endgame DLC pack with heels and anime hair. Everyone else, level 12. Atto, level 999, with passive XP regen and plot armor so thick, not even nukes would dent it. And just when you think this empire couldn't get more OP, the water in their land literally makes evil people stronger. Like, imagine drinking smart water and suddenly becoming a god. But only if you've committed at least one war crime. That's the kind of ecosystem we're dealing with here. As the episode ends, the Qualia squad is finally advancing toward the Dark Continent, cutting down goblins like they're weeds on sale. But little do they know, this ain't your average forest dungeon. They're stepping into a cursed Costco full of magical bioweapons, overpowered waifus, and one emotionally repressed king who accidentally built the best civilization by just being nice and socially awkward. So the question now is, can Soalina's Holy Squad handle this new empire? Or are they gonna end up crying into a flesh tree while Atto kicks their face in? Episode 4 starts with the troops of Kingdom of Qualia in tow, marching towards the Dark Continent. The paladins talk about the north end of the kingdom being under attack, to which Balgo, a trooper, responds how it isn't their concern. He won't even join the troops fighting the north, even if the pay's good, because the witch is involved. The troops move forward towards the destination. Upon arriving at a barn to rest, Lonius investigates Balgo what he means by a witch messing up the north, to which he responds it's a rumor he heard. Source? Trust me, bro. Lonius refused to believe the saint can be outdone by a mere witch. Forever the bootlicking lad, isn't he? While the boss of the paladin, Verdel, is drinking his liver away, and he honestly couldn't care less. Not even when the stick up his ass Lonius quotes some sort of Bible on their universe. Dude's got no shame. All the boss wants? Refills from a cute bartender. Now it's Balgo's turn to investigate as to why 2 of the paladins are tagging along the troop heading toward the accursed land. Whether it's witch-related, so our witch-fearing lad can count himself out. What a wuss! The boss paladin assures there's no witch involved, but dark elves residing in that place they're heading to, and how higher-ups just want to make sure they're not causing any trouble. Lonius expresses how determined he is to slay them before they gain strength. However, we can always count the wuss and the alcoholic to run away when things get nasty. Verdel's motto, don't chase glory. Do not die on the battlefield, even more if you have a family to provide for. And just as he got some character depth, he went back to his drinking shenanigans. All Lonius could do was send a prayer to their god Arlos. Back in Minogra, we have berries gathered in front of our king, Takuto, as he seems to start some ritual or spell of sorts. The nation gathered around his majesty holding their breaths, unsure of what to expect. The spell is casted, and we see it transforming into a god forbid, ugly-ass looking creature. Seriously, who is creating the designs? Yet Atto demands the nation to praise the Lord. Even my 4-year-old niece can draw and color better than that dog. But no, behold the power of King Takuto, I guess. The ugly-ass creature is the long-legged bug. No shit, it looks like a mutilated worm, God forbid. Back to his throne, Takuto is very happy about his production, if that's what you want to call it. And of course, the forever praise, Atto backing up his inflated stance. Though, even my guy is amazed by how much of a fool these elves can be, as he also raw-dogged the spell. It shows what came to life, duh. The king and his second-in-command only knew the formula, yet didn't know the end product, what it would be. The only place I go this unprepared are my examination hall centers. Thank you very much. Atto thinks we should put things we don't understand behind us, to which I resonate, but not when it comes to building a nation. The duo concludes they can produce manpower no matter how hideous it'll be. It's time to produce a second hero. All they need is loads of mana. No biggie. Choose your hero. Queen of all insects, Isla? Yuck. Sounds insanely disgusting, but hey, we're in an evil kingdom here. She's said to be a cheat code. That's strong, huh? She's proud, but can control bug units, aka the disgusting piece of mutilated worm, which is a bug, can be controlled by Isla. The kingdom can also count on the Ant Queen to produce labor from larva units. Cool, but am I the only one getting the ick here? Great for domestic affairs and war. Definitely not disgusting at all. She seems to fit their plan, and Mynoghra aims to summon the said hero. Our other options aren't introduced to us as they're tweaked for the further end of the series, but the anticipation is built upon their problematic individuals and how they love chaos and world domination. Guess we'll have to wait and watch for the more heroes to unlock. Hoping they won't cause a problem later as our king, Takuto, wants to meet all of them, but of course summoning them right now would just ruin the whole plotline, no? The troops, on the other hand, are faced by a giant to which they're in a pinch. Verdel steps in, standing on business. So Justin Bieber core. Time to get serious? Well, he recites some Bible verses to his sword. So much for an alcoholic, no. But my guy slashes through the giant along with complimentary, over-exaggerated commentary by Lonius as if it was something out of this world. We know fodder when we see one. Don't need to sell them otherwise to us, Mr. Paladin. What do you mean you will not have any trouble with the upcoming mission? I'd like to see y'all go against the damn Bug Queen. Back to Minogra, we have our king munching down McDonald's burgers as he's sick from the healthy hospital food, and honestly, I'd choose burgers over vegetables any day. You go, king. And of course, our man-killer Atto is feeding off salad. How convenient for a woman, no? It suits her better. Very original. The palace construction for the King of Ruin, Takuto, is going at full speed ahead. You can say the elves are heightened for some praise kink. After our short lunch break, Moltar and others are to be summoned on the royal grounds to see our king. A kingdom close to Minogra is discovered all thanks to the courtesy of the long-legged ants. And it works in our favor. It's a neutral one, so no war breaks out yet. So far, it seems that Kingdom hasn't noticed the making of Minogra. We're playing it safe, or it just got jinxed as the troops got nearer to the kingdom. Takuto asks Atto to handle it with no disputes, if possible. The paladins and rest of the troop try to enter the forest, but in a cage. Atto appears, but she's portraying herself as an elf. Upon investigating as to why the troops want to enter the kingdom, they refuse to answer, instead asking her the questions. The troops threatened to enter, to which Atto retaliated and asked them not to enter. Verdel is keen to understand there's something more going on and gives Lonius a shut-up call when he tries to speak up. Atto then again asks the law to turn back as her kin is tired from the journey and are all living in peace. A stubborn attempt, but nonetheless needed. All attempts are futile when Verdel yells about how the saints back in his hometown saw prophecy about an apocalypse bringer residing in the forest, and they cannot turn empty-handed. To that revelation, the troops cry in anger as to why this fucker is revealing nation secrets. Again, another shut-up call to the troops and Lonius. Verdel, my guy, what did I say? He's standing on business. But of course we have a crybaby telling everything to the teacher. Rotten kid Lonius claiming how it's a treason and will go report it back to the heads once they get back. Cry some more, will ya? Atol, with all the repression she got in her, asks to leave and there's no prophecy going on. But the evil is radiating off her and the paladin wonders if she's actually an elf. Lonius is dead set on investigating, yet Verdel is asking her to take an oath to God that there's no harm spewing in the forest. Atol forever, the sly fox, oaths on her God. What a devious little snake. Verdel is convinced and wants to turn back, but Lonius is dead set to change right in the forest. Some internal dispute among the paladins carry on, and Lonius declares leadership off Verdel, saying he broke the prophecy code by telling it to a stranger and then leaving without an investigation just because the elf Atol said so. Lonius takes on command and decides to barge into the Dark Continent. Balgo and others comply, as Lonius is the only one paying them. Negotiations failed, so it seems. The scene cuts off, and Lonius wakes up from being unconscious on the floor. There is blood on his hand, weapons on the floor, and his commander's hanging on what looks like branches, all dead. We see a cold Atto frowning upon life, and with that the attempt to invade the Dark Continent ends. For now, we'll see you in episode 5.